My name is Neal Bookspan. I am an attorney in Phoenix, Arizona, and I practice in the area of both real estate and contract law, mostly representing closely held businesses and their owners. What drew me to this industry actually was a business law class I had at University of Arizona when I was undergraduate. The professor had a love of law. The cases he had us read were very interesting. The class was very engaging. And it was the first thing that struck my interest, even though I have a father who is an attorney. It had never actually occurred to me as a career path. The qualities and characteristics of people who are successful in the law field are varied. Like most fields, you have to work hard. There's obviously schooling and studying that goes into play, but then it is really focusing on details. And it depends what area of the law you're in, what you actually do day to day, because it can be different. But again, I always think it goes back to hard work. The work that I do does in part relate to the degree and path I took at University of Arizona. I was a general business major. I got to taste all of the different business-related disciplines that were taught at the U of A at the time. And again, this is what led me to this business law class that led me to where I am now. But because I do so much work representing closely held businesses, there are definitely things and learnings that I draw on in my day-to-day life. Definitely what Wildcats need to know generally about the legal industry, whether it's staying current on trends, challenges, how to progress, etc., is, again, it goes back to what I said before, is whatever you do, you have to work hard and you have to know that you're going to have to put in time to master what you do, whether it's the 10,000 hours that we hear about, however you want to position it. As far as learning, I think we all need to be lifetime learners. So, I mean, part of it's forced on us by the Arizona State Bar, and it would be in any other state where you have to do continuing legal education. But whatever area you practice in, it's always changing. Laws change, case law changes. If you're doing that, if you're doing transactional work, different clauses and things that are used every day in documents change over time or are tweaked, and there's different fads. And so it's everything. You've got to stay up on it because you're trying to do your best to make sure your clients are protected. As far as the challenges, I think one of the biggest ones that I found was trying to find the right fit. Where do you work? I mean, I'm in private practice, so I can't really speak to the public sector and people who are prosecutors and defenders and all of that. But I've worked for both very, very small firms, very, very large firms, and for Phoenix, what are mid-sized firms. And that's where I am now. I'm currently an owner in a 40 attorney firm, which sounds pretty big. Again, for Phoenix, that's mid-size, but there's many larger firms here in Phoenix, and in many larger cities, we would be considered small. For progress, again, the idea of, I really think mentorship's important, both informal and formal mentorship programs, and those are available through many different legal organizations. And otherwise, it's just really good to find people, not always who you work with, who can mentor you, who have experience in the area. And that's, again, that goes back to networking and getting to know people. And what I really like or dislike about what I do are two things. I really like helping people. I don't think anybody gets into law because they don't want to help people. And then the thing that I don't like, which anybody who says they like it is lying, is that I have to bill every 6 minutes of my day. I think there's a few things. I think there are very important things you can do before you enter any career. What we do for a long time. I've been doing this for, it's hard to say, almost 30 years now, and have more to go. And so you want to like what you do. And so I think you always want to speak to people that are in the industry or field and find out what do they like or dislike, what are their days like. If you don't know someone in that field, it's really easy. A lot of people are friendly. If you weren't brave enough to pick up the phone and just put a lawyer or attorney in Google and call someone, you can call a state bar. I have no doubt they can put you in touch with people who would be willing to talk. Most of us are willing to give of our time because it's a field that's given back to us. And so I think that when you're doing that, you have to think about, again, what do you like doing during the day? What don't you like doing? Because if you're someone who needs to be out and about, being an attorney and sitting in front of a computer all day may not be it. It's not like TV or the movies. People aren't in court all day long, all the time. I mean, some are in certain areas, but most are not. And so you really need to find what those areas are you'd be interested in. And not only, like I spoke to earlier about the type or size of firm, but there's also kind of like the practice of medicine. There's so many different specialties and areas, and it's really hard to know. And I know attorneys who've been in practice for 15 or 20 years and then switched what they do, which is a whole different challenge and how hard they have to work to get up to speed in a whole new area. But again, I think you always need to find things you do that you like. And by talking to people who've done it, at least you can get a taste of what it's like, whether or not you can ever intern or try to go to work for someone and at least maybe shadow them and see what they do. Because again, it's really important to know what people do day to day to see if it's something you really want to do. The U of A did help. I found education is obviously a big positive, especially with what I did, because in addition to college, I had to go to 3 years of law school. And so I think the idea of the professors and the coursework and what I did helped prepare me as it really kind of got harder as you go and being ready for it. At the same time, there were a lot of opportunities through clubs and organizations I was involved in to meet people, because I do think a lot of it goes back to networking. Everybody thinks that there's all these different jobs where you're not in sales and going to law school, you're just going to practice law. No, if you want to be a successful lawyer who actually builds a business and practice with their own clients, you're in sales. And so that's something I kind of had to learn as I went, because that to me wasn't natural. And I figured it out. But I mean, it can go back to being in the dorms my freshman year. I'm still friends with people I knew at U of A. I lived in the Phoenix area. There's a number of people that live here that I went to school with, many of whom did not grow up in Arizona, but migrated here after graduating. And even just yesterday, I was on the phone with a really good client of mine who has a really successful business, who's actually a really good friend of mine from when we were at U of A together. And so you just never know. Again, it's not that every person you talk to is going to be a sale in whatever you do. It's just keeping connected to people that are your people, and otherwise then professionally branching out. And I think there's so many people at U of A, and there's just so many different things, whether it is, like I said, it could be the dorms, it can be clubs, it can be club sports, it can be actual college level sports. There's so many different organizations that everybody's involved in, and there's places to meet people, and you just never know what that connection is going to lead to in the future. So I can't even emphasize that enough, is, always think to the future. And you always have to I always think, be nice. It sounds so simple, but you just don't burn bridges. You just go on your way. And if you're nice and you say the right things, you might think something different, but you go on your way, because relationships in business and in what I do are everything.